Some rain today, just brief. It didn't matter because turf racing was never going to happen tonight at the mountain after yesterday's deluge. I'm beginning to feel like Mother Nature's got some kind of a grudge against Mountaineer. Or else, like I'm doing the old Nightline show with Ted Koppel. Remember that one at its inception? Day 45. Mountaineers grass course held hostage. Really has been a rough summer. It's been a really wet summer at the time when you normally are treated to. And I hate water. That's well known to people that follow me. Normally treated as some kind of a drought during the dog days. And it's great for local lovers of all things grass. Really different this year, though. Not the worst of all situations tonight as far as scratches go. I think the 4 that were scheduled for turf right now have 6, 7, 6, and 5 starters. I've seen them pounded down to smithereens at the scratch box. Worse than that. Welcome, and I am Mark Patterson. Don't look now, but I think I've done like 45 of these live Mountaineer commentary videos on my new YouTube channel. We're gaining some steam, 315 subscribers, so 500 is starting to look doable. And after that, we'll shoot for 1,000. Welcome in. Much appreciated. Your attendance is what makes this all worthwhile for me. Did not feel well last night. Much better tonight. And there is the banner, Mark Patterson's live Mountaineer commentary, now seen only on YouTube. Please subscribe and pass the word. I haven't really gone to the stick yet, attempting to get the word out to my demo, to my demographic, to the folks that used to watch me, some religiously, when I did the Mountaineer simulcast show for some 25 years. So at some point, we'll try to get that word out and see if we can boost the subscription and the viewership here in the dungeon. In the meantime, we're just kind of enjoying ourselves and letting it build naturally, organically, I think they would say. The mountain main is muddy, by the way. The mountain main is muddy. First race, 5 furlongs. This is a starter $4,000 job for fillies and mares. And no shortage of main track accomplishments in here, as every horse going to the post is won on dirt. Now, 2 of these clearly preferred turf, much preferred turf, and that would be the Langley duo. Number 2, Take Wings, and number 5, New Ways to Dream. Interestingly enough, Barrios rode each of these fillies last time, mares last time, and either chose New Ways to Dream or was assigned New Ways to Dream by Longshot Langley himself. I don't know. New Ways to Dream on turf might have had an edge on Take Wings. Not for my money, but possibly. You know my theory, though, about these aging 50-50 horses. In her first incarnation, she could win on conventional dirt and certainly on synthetics, which she likes. But you look at her last couple of dirt races, and things got ugly. And you guys know what my theory is. The older these 50-50 horses get, the more picky they get. They won't run on anything besides grass. Also, New Ways to Dream has morphed over into strictly a speed is really what she's become. And I'm not sure that she's quite as quick as number 2, Take Wings, or number 4, Bashful Daisy. If she is, then they could be in for a long night because she is pretty strong speed, is number 5, New Ways to Dream, if she still has any taste at all for conventional dirt. And I tend to doubt that. I looked at the odds board a minute ago, and she was actually the favorite, which I would take issue with and dispute. I think her stablemate's got a better chance here. Number 2, Take Wings, and you can see across the crawl there my special notes, which can be about a variety of things, just things that are on my mind. The first race outcome could hinge on which of Take Wings or Bashful Daisy better nails the break and musters more quickness. Because Take Wings last time missed the kick, but about a length and a half, was behind the horses and compromised and unable to display her front-running style there. Take Wings. She ran okay, but that semi-sluggish start did her in and took her out of her front-running tactics, Take Wings. She is tons better on turf, but she can sprint on dirt. Her thing is she can't route on dirt. She woefully lacks dirt stamina when you're talking about going a distance of ground there, but she can sprint on dirt, and you can see that 7 3/4 length explosion right to the top at 4.5 in her first race off the bench there. And that race to Mama Marge was pretty good on July the 13th. That was a slightly higher race than this. And Mama Marge, Charlestown shipper with good starter allowance cred, would crush this field, would be 1-2, or maybe lower against this bunch. So Take Wings was forced to chase there and still responded, still kept trying. So she's a chance here for sure. But she's got to break better than last time. That's the key, because she's not going to win anything or beat anybody when she plays follow the leader. She might hang tough and catch a second or a third, but she's not going to win. relegated to that kind of an early position. Number 4, Bashful Daisy. Bashful Daisy's a hard horse to decipher until the last couple of races when I think a lot of things became clear. She is the only Pan Am Racing sponsored horse that I've seen do diddly for Team Ramjeet. So I don't know if we can really trust her off that resounding win there, Bashful Daisy, but she's got consistent speed on her page there. Again, up until her most recent race there, Bashful Daisy got early command like 5-6 times in a row, going 4.5 at the Hosted Speed Build. Bashful Daisy. So that makes her get the lead candidate here. And when she pops in there on July the 21st, 6 furlongs was never a good idea. She can't run 6 furlongs. And she was very unfortunate to pull down on the inside on a dead rail night, which would have done her in alone and by itself, except she was also in with another, as luck would have it, 4.5 furlong speed horse. And check out how much faster the fractions were than the final in that race. 21-4, 46-1, and then a full 14-2 or 14-3 to the final time. So she was out there in the swiftest part of that race, and she was definitely compromised by that inside trip. So she was a lot better than that race looked. And I think some of the wise guys picked up on that, and they made her 5-2 in her next one, not just because she reverted to a better distance for her, a better game for her, 4.5 furlongs, but also because she'd been compromised the time before by circumstances and by the grain of the racetrack. And Bashful Daisy, and at this point, she's in with a field full of absolute quicksters. Bashful Daisy gets fronted, but then comes rolling around him with evil intent there, did Bashful Daisy. So that track, I don't want to overcomplicate this, but it's not simple sometimes to decipher mountaineer events. And that track was better out wide where she was with that Arazi move around the far turn circling them, roller derby style. So the track bias giveth, the track bias taketh away. It definitely hindered Bashful Daisy on July the 21st. It definitely helped her on August the 2nd. And I think it's the same situation as with Take Wings. I think her fate is going to hinge on if she can leave there a little more quickly than last time. Remember that she used to get the lead in these kind of short sprints in her Charlestown incarnation. Number 6, Paul Murray. Paul Murray, she's quirky. She sometimes is quick. She sometimes is not. She sometimes runs lights out. More often not. This outfit is just having a woeful season at Mountaineers. So I got to deduct points from her for that. And she was back on her speed game last time, which means she could be a pain in the derriere for some of these other speeds. And the other speeds were just about everybody in her except for Fortunata Italia on the far outside. So she nails the break and goes out there and gets the lead. And she makes things really interesting. And it becomes kind of a gut check and a trip check for her fellow speeds. Take Wings, Bashful Daisy, and No Ways to Dream. I'm going to pause briefly, not for station identification, although I guess you can pick up endorsements if you get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. But I'm going to check out how many minutes to post. And they are still in the paddock. Are we indoor or outdoor tonight? The rain has stopped for the last, I think, 4 hours, maybe 5 hours. Just had to get the one brutal shower this afternoon, almost as if Mother Nature is playing the long game and seeks to make sure there will be no turf racing later on this week in Mountaineer. And Take Wings is the favorite here. Maybe perceived to be a little classier, quote unquote, than Bashful Daisy, with the 12-5 win off the bench this year, the subsequent starter win, second in a starter race there. And I'm quoting largely from her off-turf form there, her dirt form. Number 2, Take Wings. They don't enter No Ways to Dream on dirt on purpose anymore. They do that with Take Wings, which might mean Take Wings is better equipped to handle this switch in surfaces. As No Ways to Dream continues still to take support as the public thinks Langley's holding the cards here with Coach 2-to-1 shots and number 2, Take Wings, and number 5, No Ways to Dream. And the horse I like to beat them both, somewhat price-dependent, Bashful Daisy. Although I don't trust the Pan Am horses, do trust Team Ramjeet. And she is 5-2 right now, is Bashful Daisy. Race number 2. I'm going to boil that down to Morning Boss just for a little preview. We put out a $70 daily double last night in advance of the opener. I'm going to just boil that down to Morning Boss and maybe a saver on the 9 horse, Okay By Me. I think those are the potential winners in race number 2 there. I may discount Fair Trade just a little bit as a horse that's likely to run well, but maybe not outright win it. And Silver Candace looks off form to me. So if I bet the daily double, and I'm thinking about it right now, I'm going to use Morning Boss and also some kind of a saver for a better price on number 9. Okay, by me. In the opener, I'm all about Bashful Daisy, but I think Take Wings has a chance. Thank you, Lord, for the gift that was the twin Langley turf specialist. Each held at 6-5. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. No freaking way. That is definitely an overlay on the horse we like to win it. And I did bet to win. Pretty big bet on Bashful Daisy. Didn't bet double. Kind of wanted to see how the track is going to play. And I didn't see a lot of value. The Daily Double will pay. So I went and win on Bashful Daisy. Make no mistake, though. Bashful Daisy. Maybe Mama's got a brand new bag winning from behind in these super speed loaded, extremely short races. But she's not a closer at all. She's a trappy little horse who takes short, quick, choppy strides and is winning these races by virtue of a really strong second quarter in which she out accelerates fellow speeds. And in tonight's case, fellow speeds that are either quitters or much prefer the turf. So Bashful Days, you don't get delusions of 6 furlong future wins for her because it ain't happening. Bashful Days, once Paul Murray gets the lead there, then Bashful Days, he just angles out and turns it on like she did last time, the Jets, around that far turn. The road of these 2 consecutive wins for Bashful Daisy, and if you stay closely attuned to how these races play out, and to the track bias, most specifically, I think you would have maybe had her on your stable mailer, picked up on the huge effort from her on July the 21st as she was in an untenable position against a fellow 4.5 furlong speed of all things. And they didn't expect that when they entered her at 6 furlongs in desperate hopes of some speed relief. And she's pinned down in no man's land on a night when you couldn't win along the inside. So she ran huge there. And it just didn't look like it. So the seeds were planted for these 2 subsequent wins for Bashful Daisy. And hopefully you were on board. Second race also taken off the turf. Another 5 furlong job. This is an open 75 for fillies and for mares. Number 1, Morning Boss. Morning Boss has got a lot of local cred. I see my man Kenny Neely's in the house tonight. I knew Kenny'd be popping up because this is his favorite horse. I didn't even guess how much Kenny's ahead on Morning Boss. More than me, I can tell you that. He's a big Morning Boss fan. Morning Boss, the former Clouston horse, who went to Charleston actually and held her own in some allowance races. But she loves the Mountain Maine, man. They're playing her song on the Mountain Maine. And I can see where they took this race off the turf early enough for the main track records to be listed here, which I'm not sure I've seen this before. This is interesting with the races over the Mountain Maine listed here. Morning Boss is 8 for 18 with 6 times second. So how's that? Morning Boss is another horse who pays her keep by virtue of a very good second quarter. And if she gets her hooks into the first call, much less gets the lead, then she's probably going to get paid Morning Boss. She was claimed by Juan Pablo Silva there. I'm not sure he's got any kind of a grudge match going on against King Klaus. Now, him and Jamie Poole have had a thing going on for the last couple of years, and not a good thing, as they seek to savage each other at the claim box. And each of those guys will crow about how they've gotten the better of the other one at the box. And I'm not sure it's anything but a tie if you look at the long range results there. But no love lost. But for Clouston and Silva, and Silva's more active at the box than ever this year at Mountaineer, which seems kind of strange to me because he's one of the few guys with the clientele and the money, the backing behind him and the connections to import live runner after live runner after live runner. You guys know where his buying grounds are and where they bring horses in from. Phoenix and points further west, the SoCal majors, and even branched out last year, a year and a half, to places like Parks and even Florida a little bit. So it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Does Juan Pablo Silva, and went to the box there on Morning Boss. It was taking a drop at 6-5 and saw Morning Boss report home on top and easily beat Fair Trade there on July the 21st. It was no match whatsoever. Fair Trade's back in here. And Fair Trade was in the Silva stable last time. So Morning Boss comes back in the next one. And I didn't like her, I'll be honest, because I thought she was going to get out quick by 2 or 3 foes. She's down close to the rail. Wasn't too sure the rail was a great place at that stage of the night. And you know what? She was in kind of a precarious position, not stalking comfortably or anything, but the jock had to ride a little tentatively down close to the inside with the other speeds, a couple of them about 3/4 of a length in front of her, which is an awkward trip. But she was true to her school there, Morning Boss, and I think did herself honor and maybe raised her recent game a little bit over to Juan Pablo Silva, which is not uncommon when he goes to the claim box or buys a horse and brings it in here. So Morning Boss, if you can't find anybody quick enough in there to take the rail away from her, and the rail's okay tonight, then she's probably going to get paid again. Morning Boss. Number 2, Fair Trade. Fair Trade fits to 75. And I don't consider it a negative drop, by the way, for Morning Boss because he took her for 75. He has his purse with her at a higher class last time and then comes right back for what he took her for. Morning Boss. He wants her for a good time, not for a long time. So Fair Trade shows like 3 wins for 75, a couple of wins for 75 there on the page. Really fits at this level, does Fair Trade. The thing is, though, she beats up on horses that aren't as fast as her. But when she gets in with another speed who can really accelerate early, then she isn't quite as effective. She just couldn't come close to keeping up last time with Morning Boss on July the 21st. I don't think Morning Boss was better and a follow-up to that July 21st race out of the Silva barn there. Interesting to see what happens here. Jamie Poult lays his hands on a Silva horse in Fair Trade, an honest horse who certainly fits, and a horse, as far as your vertical gimmicks go, is a speed horse that you don't necessarily discount for a minor piece, even if she gets fronted her, because she's pretty game and a pretty good finisher, even when fronted by speed horse standards. Number 2, Fair Trade. Silver Candace, she was so precocious at the outset of her career. I think she won like her first 3 outings or something like that in Mountaineer, and can still pop up once in a while and bring her A speed. Silver Candace has gone north of the border and acquitted herself okay. Silver Candace used an extreme pro speed bias just 1 week into the start of Mountaineer's season, April the 19th there to win. Did the Silver Candace. Next couple of times, she's not shown her customary speed, so she needs a reversal for this. Maybe the class drop helps her. Silver Candace, she could go out there and pollute the pace. I guess it's possible. Number 7 years ago, as we're cruising right through our commentary here, years ago, serious issues, man. Just 3 starts in 2025. There's a big gap amongst those starts. Just 1 time to the post in 2024. It seems like they're just spinning their wheels, pretending that she's going to be any better than a $4,000 horse or maybe even $3,200. I think that's where she's bound for. And you have Girl By then. Girl By, almost always overbet, it seems like, with her now 1 for 26 record on conventional dirt. And Girl By has not only been in for $4,000, but has had soft conditions to hopefully help her cause in those cases. And this is a wide open race for Girl By. They did not want to square off with these horses on dirt. They wanted grass for Girl By, whose finest hour at Mountaineer, I think, came with a Grand Theft horse race and a higher class event going 7/8 on the turf, if memory serves me. If I'm looking for somebody with any kind of a chance to beat Morning Boss, I think it might be the number 9, Okay By Me. Now, there are some knocks on Okay By Me, but aren't there always? Because I'm not a tout, and I'm going to give point counterpoint. Okay By Me is a 4-time winner on dirt, so that's not a bad thing when we're talking about it taking off the turf race. Okay By Me's got a lot of speed. We got a clean trip out there. Okay By Me shows a 5.5 furlong wire there on a class drop as favorite. I'm not sure she's all that better on dirt than on turf, though. I know she's over 10 on turf, but it seems like she was in some higher races when she was on the grass and gave some good efforts. And her better dirt form has come in cheaper competition, sometimes on the class drop, when heavily bet. And her trainer just has this awful record. He's like 6% from this humongous sample size. So he comes by that 6% mark the right way from like a 430 start sample size. So it is what it is. But with one caveat, often when they come to Mountaineer, it's like Bizarro World, the Superman comics, where everything was backwards. Superman was a wimp and the Joker was virtuous. Sometimes when these low percentage barns come to Mountaineer, they become high percentage outfits. You do the math. It's not a Heiza track, okay? Do we need to say more about that? So Okay By Me with Palcar making a rare celebrity appearance is a horse that I would also look at some here. And I'm wishing right now I would have bet those daily doubles to Morning Boss and also to Okay By Me, because I'm pretty sure that I would have isolated the winner in that manner. Number 8, Tailor Made. I'm sorry, the 11 pulls in here. Tailor Made. This trainer does not have a good record at all. And Tailor Made is just on this odyssey of double length defeats, just race after race after race after race after race. They're so stubborn, and their refusal to undertake any kind of a significant drop with Tailor Made. I just don't see much on the form there. Maybe you guys do. Maybe like the new shooter angle. I don't think the synthetic to dirt boost is going to play here because she's been away about 2 months. Sometimes it seems like they show increased stamina, increased verve when they've recently run on all weather footing and flip over to dirt, but I'm not sure that's in play with her. I do see where she's 7-1 there. So there's some takers on number 11, Tailor Made. We're going to get a litmus test for the rail early on here with Morning Boss, who was 1-2 there. And I think very deserving of favoritism, by the way. And if anybody beats her, I think it might be the 9 horse, but I'm not so sure. Morning Boss is. assailable here. Neil Sedak wrote a song about the human aspect of that race. I think it was called Bad Blood. You have no idea how badly Jamie Poole wanted to take down the 2-5 silver favorite with a horse he just claimed from Juan Pablo. Oh, baby. That one would have went on the mantle for Jamie Poole, no question about it. He tried manfully to do it, couldn't quite pull it off, and had some help from an unexpected source. Girl by maybe didn't figure to dog Morning Boss that long or that hard, and probably compromised the Boss. I don't think that was any master plan or any slick race riding ploy on the part of Oliveros to drift out into the oncoming fair trades path there, turning for home, because Morning Boss drifts out to begin with for home, and then further through the home stretch. And also, Oliveros didn't look over his right shoulder until the tourist had already altered course down to his inside there. So Morning Boss just ekes it out. Told you going in fair trade. By speed or standards, keeps trying, even when topped. And again, got the assist from Girl By on the pace there and almost pulls what would have been an upset over 2-5 Morning Boss. But Morning Boss finds ways to win. Seems like whatever the setup, whatever the scenario, and is now 9 for 19 over the Mountain Main as Morning Boss. And don't forget, they're not just faking when they enter her on the grass. She's probably even better on the turf, or at least as good. Third race was lined up to be on the turf to begin with. Same deal for tonight's fourth race, the first four with the turf races. This is 1 mile on the Mountain Main, a muddy Mountain Main, never two. Fillies and Mares for $10,000. I'm sorry, $10,000. They're usually written for $15,000. We started that when I was there, but this is for $10,000. And you can see where on my special notes I have it. It's coming across the crawl now. Fifth gear is so obvious as controlling speed versus a very bad field. The price is going to get obliterated here. Fifth gear is going to be so low, it'll make you cry. And you can't hold that against a morning lines maker because the odds are drawn up for turf. Even if you see it's raining in torrents outside, and I used to do this. It was such a dilemma for me. I hated to do it when I was doing the odds at Mountaineer, which I did for like 30 freaking years. I was the official odds maker there. And when I was making a line on a race and I knew it was going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights, it was raining right at the time of entry. I'd sit down and do the line and do it for turf when I knew darn well the race was not going to proceed on turf. But that's how you have to roll because that's how the morning line works. Yeah, fifth gear here. Fifth gear stalked the pace and pulled away convincingly there against a bad field at a crazy inflated claiming price there, $25,000. You could buy the whole bunch of them for half that, I'm sure. Fifth gear did finish with more power than had been her custom before that fifth gear. Fifth gear came out from some sprints there and kind of caught onto the route game a little bit. Returned against winners, first time against winners. Was in with a better field than this, even though that was also supposed to be on the turf and flipped over to dirt. Is the winner there had taken a maiden special weight race, I think on dirt at some point, and had just run second, was in good form and took play. And the other horse that took play had just romped in a maiden 25 or a maiden special on dirt and had some speed. Did Impudent, who ended up second there. And Nestor Rivera horse, and from Thistledown, last couple of starts, Impudent. Fifth gear was the 8 horse into the first turn going a mile and broke okay. Wasn't really compromised, but it's not really where you want to be. Fifth gear, I think, is going to be able to raise her game here in control of the pace because I'm looking at these horses and I don't see anybody to even keep her honest here, right? Fifth gear with Barrios, he's going to send first and ask questions later, right? And all this is going to be so obvious to the self-appointed sharp guys and the actual sharp guys that don't expect any kind of a price here. You will cry at what the final odds are going to be on fifth gear if you choose to bet fifth gear. Just stick around until they cross the wire and watch this price plummet. You got an odd consortium here of horses that really want turf, that broke maiden on turf like Bailey's Girl and Pivot to the Power, and horses that might be okay on dirt but are not very good at anything. As far as Bailey's Girl goes, unusual to win at 2 turns, first time out of the box. Bailey's Girl, I think, maybe hooked into a really bad field, though, that had a case of the quits and might have flattered her beyond what her seasoning and true ability really is. Bailey's Girl. I got to go by the one dirt race there, and man, that was not pretty. So many horses that can display some stamina on turf are lacking in finishing power on dirt, especially at 2 turns. And Bailey's Girl, I can put so many knocks on her that it's not even funny. Pivot of the Power. Here's another horse that broke maiden on turf. The best placings have come on turf and really struggled to win last time against soft competition on turf as a 3-2 favorite with Oliveros on board. Pivot of the Power. So I can't like her chances. After it takes her 19 tries, the 6-year-old mare to break through for Diploma to come right back and win again. And to do it flipped over to dirt, I don't think so. Mima Princess, number 3. I'm going right down the line here. Mima Princess. Synthetics at Prescott. It seems like when horses run well on that particular blend, they do okay over the mountain main. Mima Princess, though, is kind of a one-number horse there on July the 3rd. Where did that come from at 28-1? She did not come back to a run like that again, although she did miss the break next time. So maybe a light bulb moment did occur on July the 3rd. She's back off Lasix here, so they can't be extending her too big of an excuse, or they'd keep her on the bleeder meds, right? Mima Princess? Yeah, they're taking her back off Lasix, so evidently they think she didn't fire last time, even after the slow start, because that was with Lasix added to her arsenal there. Mima Princess. Is a Kitty a slow maiden win? Worked hard to do it. Get even money there. Every horse, it seems like, finds a field they can beat at some point. It's kind of like the old maxim about romance. There's someone for everyone. Well, there was a field for her as a Kitty. Good luck finding another one. We saw her off turf wares on display last time. Plus this trainer, man alive, what a lousy year he's having. And who's that mare he had last season? This is that. Was that the runner's name that he won like 6 with or something like that? Look like the guy knew what he was doing last year. 5th Gear, already talked about. Vi Gaitina is the only one in here that catches my eye even a little bit is a potential upsetter over 5th Gear as I flip over to take a look at the odds here. And they're just leaving the paddock, and 5th Gear is 3-2. No. Oh, no. Heavens, no. I'm thinking something more like 3-5. Number 9, Vi Gaitina, is a horse that won maiden on turf. So that's 1 knock, and also just 1 win from 23 tries there for Vi Gaitina. So they wanted grass in the worst way with her. But if she's supposed to like grass, then why so lousy last time? But if we want to start with some dog gator homework excuses and try to make a case, trump up a case for Vi Gaitina, we got to do it for somebody, right, besides 5th Gear. Then let's say she needed her most recent race, needed it desperately. And let's harken back to one dirt race that looks appealing on her page when she ran a near 50 buyer and an on-claimer July the 7th over the mountain main last year. And that race was key, not only key, but productive. So if that horse shows up, and I sure wouldn't count on it, then you might be talking about your second place finisher here. So we got somebody 2-1 to actually beat 5th Gear, and that's Pivot of the Power. Pivot of the Power with a couple of seconds on dirt, huh? And they're looking back, I guess, at that Mahoney trial February the 25th when Pivot of the Power was going 6 furlongs, which cannot be a great distance for her. And ran second with a representative fig. Wasn't too bad, as a matter of fact, for Pivot of the Power. Also, she has run well on synthetics, so she's versatile in that regard, as she's moneyed and run okay on all 3 types of footing. But I can tell you, she's better on turf, and I think she's the type that you really can't count on to go out there and put forth a good dirt effort, Pivot of the Power. If I want to cherry pick from her 6 dirt starts, I can maybe find 1.5 efforts that could threaten 5th Gear, but I don't want to give her any benefit of the doubt, and I don't want to cherry pick her better dirt efforts, considering how unsexy and straight as a string she was to win last time as favorite, and a grossly inflated, and by a narrow margin, and a grossly inflated maiden claimer on turf. I can't find it now, guys, but I saw where somebody, it might have been my man Tom Kurtz asked me how the Bucko bet is going. That kind of hinges on tonight's score. What's up with that? Anybody have the score? Not going to be rude enough to check my phone while I'm right here on camera. I can tell you, I bet them to win 79 games. And if they can finish 500 from here on out, their final 36 contests, then I'm going to cash. I think it's going to be a photo. But if they keep falling underneath the surface level, and that's lower than under 500 for me, then I don't think they can recover because this is not a team that's going to string wins together. So I think they're in danger of going on a losing streak, much more so than going on some kind of a win streak. And that's been the problem all year, even as the playoff hopes have faded and I guess totally disappeared. The problem is inability to run up some kind of a win streak and get above the 500 mark and get their heads above water, significantly above water. And if they don't do that, if they don't go on some kind of a roll, like 5 in a row or something like that, maybe in the next couple of weeks, I'm not sure I like my chances a lot for them to hold their ground from where they're at right now, which is 4 games under 500, which would total out, and I'm not a math whiz, to 79 wins on this season. So I'm getting all I asked for. I'm getting a 4 or 5 month long horse race and a tight one at that, guys. I'm going to go check the price out on Fifth Gear. I know what's going to happen to it. Nothing good. So it didn't matter. The one horse catches a flyer and by design tries to steal it. She's not a good horse on dirt. And this race was a fait accompli. The minute it flips over from grass, fifth gear at 4 to 5. Actually, I think it was a fair price. I thought she might go 2 to 5 or 1 to 2 or something like that. So it's a rare instance where I did bet a 4 to 5 shot because that field was just an offer that she couldn't refuse. Second time against winners, was in tougher last time. Much better horses last time. So no surprise there. That was a minnow. I'll take it. I did not bet any verticals there. I had very little idea who might be second, and I would not have identified Is It Kitty necessarily as my second place finisher. As a matter of fact, I could have used like 3 exacta punches with a 6 on top and not gotten to a 6 and 4. So I'm glad I didn't bet any verticals in that race. To answer your question, Mr. Crawford, Mark, if you have time to answer a question, I've always wondered why tracks don't adjust the minutes to post clock when they're running behind. Any reason they don't? I do know something about these things, Mr. Crawford, because I was a racing official for 36 years and basically in charge of a racing office for about 30 of those years. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One reason is because the meds are on a tight schedule. A lot of these horses have LASIK and stuff like that. And also, there's an optimum time after the bleeder meds are administered. But even beyond that, let me tell you how this works. When you're in the racing office, somebody, and I think it's usually the identifier, sometimes the paddock judge will call races to the post, and you do that on a rigid schedule. In other words, when the 4th race is crossing the wire, you're calling the 6th race to the paddock. That's how it works. You guys dig what I'm saying here? You're always 2 races in advance when you're calling on the loudspeaker for horses to come to the paddock. And if there's some kind of delay, then you wait long until the race actually goes off to call them over. Right now at Mountaineer, they're catering, I think, to the big bettors, the CAW, to such an extent that I think they probably don't mind it even a little bit when the races get dragged out on and on and on and on and on. And it's certainly doing wonders for the handle, so I can't knock it or criticize it. It's very inconvenient for the littler players like you and I, guys, but they're not going to stop it. And I don't think they're exactly crying in their cup of cheer whenever you get these delays and these races, as long as nobody gets hurt and it is pumping up the handle. I can recall some instances in the past where they would sneak some time back after a delay or two for an ambulance or something like that by lobbing a couple of minutes between races for each post time after the delay. But it's a rarity. They don't usually do that. It's not normally how they roll. Interesting story. And I'm going to babble on and on about this now that you asked me the question. Interesting story. When they used to run 12 races on Saturday nights, and sometimes you would get perilously close to midnight, the midnight hour, the witching hour, when the last race was headed to the post. And supposedly they would have been subjected to some world-shattering fine if their Monday card seeped over to Tuesday. So they would lob some time off the last post time for sure to get that one in before the stroke of midnight. If that helps you, my pleasure, sir. Sometimes when the delay occurs after a field is called to the paddock, that's the problem sometimes with these long delays. You're not in any danger of cancellation until the LASIK begins to wear off and the meds begin to wear off, and you get maybe a couple of races stacked up in the paddock. It's not uncommon to have 2 races stacked up in the paddock. If you get a delay and the field that was on the track goes back into the paddock, and then you have another field on the way over, and they have to kind of tool around. And a good paddock judge or identifier is a good traffic cop in cases like this to get things organized and tell guys where to go with their horses, the handlers and the trainers and stuff like that, and maybe send one of the fields into the outdoor paddock or one of the fields to kind of tool around that outer perimeter or the indoor paddock, which you can see whenever you watch the film shots, the film grabs of the indoor paddock there. But you run into real trouble when the delay's long enough that you have 2 additional fields stacked up. In other words, 3 fields of horses over there at the same time, and then you're perilously close to cancellation in those instances. Just to delve a little deeper into the time continuum between races. Tennis Guru says, Mark, just tuning in. Did you play the early double? You nailed it yesterday. Well, I'm glad you asked, my man. I liked the horse a lot that won the first race, and I made a flat bet at 3 to 1. The doubles that I recommended, one of them did connect at 1160, but I recommended 2 daily doubles. And if I would have played them both, it would have been less value if I played them in equal amounts. which would have been nutty anyways, but I do it sometimes in a sloppy manner. The way I fashion my daily double plays, I would have come out worse than the straight up win bet on my 3-1 winner in the first race. And thank you for the question. My Buccos are behind 4-0, by the way. I should not have opened my yap. Just one more race tonight that was originally drawn up for grass. It is the 4th. It is 6 furlongs instead of the 7/8 that was supposed to be to begin with. This is an open $5,000 event. And these races aren't really scratched all that down tonight, considering all this off the turf action. We have got 5 going to the post in here, which is not bad. It could be a lot worse in a case like this. I think each of these horses is won on dirt. In most cases, they are multiple winners on dirt. I'm a little surprised that Batuta de Oro was such a heavy favorite early in the wagering. I'm not sure it's going to stay like that. Batuta de Oro is a 2-time winner on dirt, but obviously is a better horse on grass. Batuta de Oro now did win an off-turf race. And did win an off-turf race and an allowance to boot going 6 furlongs last June. So that's what the players are banking on. But usually these barns try very hard to have them ready first time back on grass. And Batuta de Oro just gets the bottom dropped out here all the way down to $5,000. So I think this brings a lot of things into question for Batuta de Oro, doesn't it? So if you want to look at the big class drop here and how hot Vasquez has been, and figure Batuta needed the most recent one, and I'm not sure that I'm going to excuse that drubbing that he took on that basis, then I get it, I understand, but I wouldn't take a short price. Batuta de Oro. For one thing, this horse is going to come from behind, certainly, at 6 furlongs. It even uses that style in 2-turn races, and this is not a good setup for that style. 6 furlong races in particular, taken off turf, or lousy for closers. And this race, I think, again, in particular, does not shape up in favor of what would be a late move from Batuta de Oro. I looked up a stat just now. I went to the formulator and checked it out, and he is 4 for 12 with sharp class droppers, not horses that are sharp, but horses dropping sharply in class, 50% or more, that go off at favorite odds. And that might sound okay, except modern day favorites win more than 33% of the time. So I'm not sure that's a good category for Juan Vasquez. And it is just 1 minute to post, and I'm looking for some speed. Breezer. I like the way the Jeff Fletcher horse ran earlier. And that may set a good precedent for Breezer. That thing that went out and showed all that speed almost killed Morning Boss, right? Breezer, a local debut, was just a smasher. First time ever on dirt, looked like a revelation. Looked like he had his hands on something there, Breezer, up out of Florida. He brings some good horses up from Florida. This Jeff Fletcher and does well with him. But after that, Breezer lost his mojo, as I like to say. This race needs a leader, though. It needs an early leader in the worst way, and he just got buried last time at an incredibly speed-laden 5 furlong race that forced him all the way back next to last and taking a lot of kickback in the slop there. Had to swing out wide, did Breezer. Where the track might have been better, but still not an optimum situation for Breezer last time. If he remembers that he wired him at 6 furlongs back on May the 4th and shows the kind of speed that you also see in a lot of his Florida races there, then he would find the lead very easy to come by here. Number 6, Breezer. And his last race, not too bad, especially after Bustin' Loose comes back and rolls a pretty good field last night in the first race, going 5 furlongs, right? So lots to like about Breezer, I think, in here. And there is number 4, Align. Align is a multiple winner on dirt, so that's not an issue. Align is a former route horse who I guess doesn't want to route anymore. Look how he fell apart there on the stretch out on July the 28th. Conversely, he's surprisingly alert in his last couple of sprint races. Align, so it looks like he can hold his own from the inside here, even when this race is backed up to 6 furlongs. The horse that beat him last time came with a good kick, ground-saving kick there, Arak, who I think had won a starter at the meet, so wasn't a bad field by off-turf standards there that Align was in with. But I'm not sure it's becoming of a former route horse. And you can see him romping to a 9-length win, going 3 turns at Charlestown back in January. I'm not sure it's becoming of him to lose ground down the lane the last couple of times that he ran 6 furlongs. And in fact, sacrificed the lead from an interior call to the finish there, Align. From the inside, do they go a full out? Let it all hang out, baby, and try to get the lead here with Align? and a race that is notably lacking in early speed, more likely, given his history of running mid-pack, even in route races through the early stages, more likely he's gonna, well, have some position and maybe race aggressively around the turn the way he has the last couple of times. And, that could open the door for somebody else to go out there and get the lead. Don't cross Jack on the outside. He's got more dirt wins than anybody in here. Don't cross Jack. Unusual situation, though. He was a one-dimensional speed. All of a sudden decided to become a closer out of nowhere on the 16th of March at Mahoning, and they knew that was his last hurrah because I think they brought him right to Mountaineer and dropped it down to $3,200. You don't do that with a last out winner for 5,000 to Mahoney. It's just not how they think. It's not how they roll. And he did not run like an 8-5 shot. I don't cross Jack. This barn's having a good season, though. Christopher Logston. This horse did wake up last time to be second of Cool Cat Mandu. Much better horse than these. And if he's sharp off that 5 furlong race, and in his case, remembers that he used to be a speed, he could make some noise here. To pretend don't cross Jack. I don't like some of the tea leaves, some of the maneuverings, with some of the spots they've picked for him say about what the horse must be like behind the scenes. I'm going to bet he has some issues, but I'm also going to bet he's a player here. I think the likeliest winner is number 6 Breezer, but I'm not sure that I've considered anything or given you any information that's not going to be right there for the wise guys and wannabe wise guys to ascertain. So everything I'm thinking is reflected in the pool right now. How come when you want to make things go away in this world where everything wants to insinuate its way into your life and be all intrusive and stuff, you want to make things go away and they don't want to leave. They want to hang on like your in-laws that already stayed with you and eating you out of house and home for a couple of weeks. My phone, I give it a simple command, turn off. And and the reason I'm doing it is because my security notifications with my Ring security system here in my house, you guys can hear it ring out. It's not good. So I turn it off when I'm on the air here. And it's complicated to press the buttons on an iPhone and get it to go off. So I simply command it, turn off. And are you sure? Are you really sure? We could stay around. No, that's why I said frickin' turn off. Of course I'm sure. Irritates me. I did not like Batuta de Oro there. I'm quoting all these stats on how Vasquez does with favorites on extreme class drops. I should have known Batuta de Oro was not going to go off as a favorite there. Ended up at 7-2. If you liked him, then good on you. Won an allowance race last year with a decent number and taken off the turf race, Batuta de Oro. I don't know if they gave him the last race or not. I wouldn't see the point in that. But I guess it's possible. Or maybe Vasquez is simply so hot now that the horse reversed his form. Off a lousy return to action there, Batuta de Oro. I do know this, and this is a little bit fuzzy. I know that we've only had one winner that was down close to the inside around that all-important far turn, and that was Morning Boss. It was 2-5, and who drifted out through the drive. Some of these winners look almost preordained, like it doesn't matter what path they're occupying, like fifth gear. So I don't know if we can read any kind of a bias into a 4-5 winner like that, or even Bashful Daisy in the first race. But in point of fact, all but one winner has been pretty wide around that all-important far turn tonight. Although, and this is not a simple matter, the four horse in there just kept chugging along and running competitively right against the paint, at least to the late stages. But watch the backstretch, the head-on in these races, and see how wide these jocks are angling out on purpose. Nobody wants to be down there along the inside, so they may be telling us something about how the paths are playing out there tonight. Of course, I'm sure I want you to shut off, Mr. iPhone. That's why I said turn phone off. A mile and a 16th for the fifth race. Boy, flat miles, and even mile 70s are much more common than mile and a 16th races. We couldn't fill them when I was there. Because if a horse has any speed at all, front running style, or even a bit of tactical speed, much less stretch out sprinters. And you need some stretch out sprinters usually to make route races go at Mountaineer. Got to pilfer from the sprint stock to fill a route race sometimes, because route races fill far less frequently than the sprint counterparts for the same classifications. But if you're talking to a guy that's been running 6 furlongs and try to hustle him into a race, trying to get him to enter because you need a horse, and you call him up on the phone and say, you know, your horse won a couple of rounds back in year of our Lord, 1895, and I can give you a short field at a distance of ground. If he's been running 6 furlongs, he says, how far? And you better say a flat mile, baby, or you ain't getting the horse. If you say a mile and a 16th, no, because that extra 110 yards looms large in their minds, because one of the few measurable aspects of thoroughbred performance and the way the trainers plot the campaigns at the entry box. She used to come back at him and say, you know what, you're going to get a slower pace at a mile and a 16th because everybody's thinking the same way that you are. If you don't have a stone cold closer to enter, you don't run a mile and a 16th. So it's counterproductive to put a stone cold closer at a mile and a 16th. Except this race, which is open 4, does have some speed, baby. He's a shooter. Always gets the lead and sometimes doesn't sacrifice. It has a good win mark, 3 out of 9 over the last couple of years. He's a shooter. He's a shooter last time, did fold rather readily. And it would not normally concern me that much, given his overall record, except this is a horse that's not that durable. If you notice, he was only postward 5 times last year. And in his last form cycle, which was last September through October at Fort Erie, he was only good for really 1 start in between those 2 other outings, and then had to get time on the sideline. So I wonder if he's ready for another rest. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. And also, if they wanted some speed relief here for he's a shooter, well, they're probably going to get the lead, but he can do that at flat mile. And not an ideal situation when he's in against Breezy Money, who can also accelerate a little bit. Breezy Money has become something, I think, of a slow-paced specialist, like just a really strong, tenacious, front-running route horse, but not one who's necessarily all that quick. And it gets top last time, and this is not Breezy Money's normal acceleration. He gets top 24-3 to the first call. So maybe they run single foul early with He's a Shooter on top and Breezy Money second. They don't accost each other. I don't know. Breezy Money maybe figured to regress last time after running a big number and an all-out just fist fight right down to the wire to take a tough beat in a photo. Maybe figured to regress at the advanced age of 9 there. Breezy Money. I'm not sure he can deal with He's a Shooter, though, and either rate behind that one or attack that one and still live to tell about it. And we do have other options in here from off the pace, some interesting options, an array of options. Five minutes at post. We got plenty of time. Rameses, was that some kind of a god or something? Some kind of god of ancient Egypt or something? I don't know. I do know that when Matty Kintz runs here, he is dynamite, man. He's a hard guy to beat when he runs here at Mountaineer. Good horseman who ships in from Presque Isle sometimes and used to be headquartered at Mountaineer. Comes from a long line of horsemen. Matty Kintz, sharp guy. And Rameses is a 2-time winner on conventional dirt, so should be able to carry that synthetic form right back over to dirt, and was maybe just outclassed on the heels of those consecutive wins when he got up to Open 85 at Presque Isle on July the 2nd. There's a big, big knock on this horse, though. A huge negative. If you look back on his past performances, and you can't like his wet track record here at all, and if you look at his past performances, twice in a row for Tom Amos recently out of the claim box, pilfered by Amos. This horse was beaten off on sloppy tracks. So if Tom Amos can't get this horse any closer than 25 lengths to the winner at the wire, 2 consecutive tries in the slop, then I got to wonder if this horse can even stand up on a muddy track. But if he can, then he's a potential winner here. Rameses, number 4, only getting better. Mike Papada likes to creep on up to Presque Isle and run some horses. Does Mike run at Thistledown or just Mahoning and then does the Presque Isle circuit? I'm not sure. I've known Mike a long time. I think somebody told me that he skips Thistledown and goes straight to Presque Isle. He wins races either place, that's for sure. Only getting better, has been up and down the class ladder a little bit. And there have been times when I wanted to write the horse off, is a little bit past it, maybe in need of some kind of a rest. I've seen him burn some money, but I've seen him run some good races coming from behind. And I guess they like the distance for him, 1 mile and a 16th. And he did win at Presque Isle. I don't know if he likes synthetics or not. He's only run on this stuff 3 times. So he might be in pretty decent form. And he's been a decent dirt horse too, only getting better. And he fits here if the base shapes up the right way, for sure. He's a player. And a slightly overlooked player at 7-1. And then there's Breezy Money, who I already talked about, is up there at 4-1. And similar price to his front-running counterpart. No, He's a Shooter is actually 5-2 here. I'm sorry. With the earmuffs, with the gate dancer thing. On He's a Shooter. I don't think there's going to be much roar of the crowd tonight coming down the home stretch. Either time. And then self-taught on the outside. We'll wait until the post-parade passes and get to number 8, self-taught, for kind of a teaser, huh? A teaser? Yeah, how come the phone doesn't just go off when you tell it, go off? Are you sure? Same with every website you go to. Are you sure you want to exit? Yeah, that's why I hit the X. In answer to your question, Mr. Hogenly, do I think Mahoning provides better betting opportunities than Mountaineer? I'm thinking about doing some Mahoning commentary from my Dungeon YouTube channel, because I'm intimately familiar with Mahoning and used to carry money out of there by the bag full before caught on, and I got hip to what's happening in Austin town. CAW is all over both places, Mountaineer and also Mahoning, which I refer to as Austintown. It's about a 45-minute drive, and I used to do the on-track experience. I would go over there because I like the ambiance, and I like to hang out with some of my old buddies like Terry Saranovic, his brother Chuck. And then all of a sudden, the crowd disappeared over there. They lost their verve, their undying enthusiasm for live horse racing in Mahoning, Ohio, all too quickly. And it's like a funeral parlor when you go over there, trackside. But the CAW still bets the place. And much like in Mountaineer, you got to lay in the weeds and wait for the CAW to make a mistake. The self-appointed wise guys. I will say this: probably more short-priced winners at Mountaineer, and maybe smaller fields overall. And the horsemen aren't up to quite as many games at Mahoning and fill in their own races with entries that are just predestined to be scratched at entry time. Although you see that stuff too at any track in America. I'm not just singling Mountaineer out for those kind of shenanigans. It happens, man. And as an official, there's very little you can do about it, So I'm not besmirching management or the racing office or anything like that. But one reason I prefer Mahoning is because I like dead-ass cold of wintertime horse racing because you get these extreme swings in track bias that I'm pretty good on picking up on. And it presents some opportunities for value that maybe don't present themselves quite as often at Mountaineer, which has been uniform in terms of bias, either pertaining to running style or to some kind of a path thing going on. Relatively free of that stuff for the last couple of years. Mahoning, I think, tends to be more biased day in and day out with the changing wintertime conditions that call into play extreme measures at track maintenance. So, yeah, I do a little better betting on Mahoning, and I do prefer Mahoning just a little bit, but it's a photo, It's a photo. I know both tracks, and I stay in my lane, and I stick to what I know for my commentary. So if I do any other tracks, I will add Mahoning to the docket. And I haven't decided about that yet. In October, guys. The outside horse, Self-Taught. I don't think he's a big fan of wet footing either. Self-Taught. And that was one reason I liked him to turn tables on. He's a shooter when he ran on July the 23rd. I think he might have been in some trouble around the first turn there too. Self-Taught. And then comes back and the money was all over him at 8-5 when he turned tables on He's a Shooter. Self-Taught ran a mile and a half last time. No idea why Juan Pablo wanted to do that. The horse did not seem to want the distance. His stride was okay though. I think he switched leads on cue and could get a setup here. And Roses Pepino turned back from that mile and a half to win, which kind of validates the whole affair. Takes a means business class drop here. The only knock I have on the horse, even as the surface has been upgraded to good, so that could be significant. That could definitely upgrade him and also upgrade the one-horse Remeses too, because it's not straight up gumbo out there. I think that's the Achilles heel of the one horse and the hidden dirty little secret weakness of number 8, Self-Taught. So with this track somewhat through the drying stage now, it makes this race really confusing to me, to be completely honest about it. I think it's going to be one of the finishers, either Remeses, only getting better, or Self-Taught on the outside. And I don't think that's narrowing it down a whole lot either for you, is it, guys? I'm not going to bet the race. I hope, Mr. Ho-Jin Lee, that the explanation about which track I prefer to bet on, which presents better value opportunities between Mountaineer and Mahoning, I hope that answer floated your boat, man. So maybe the Silva winner there caught a break when the track dried out somewhat because I think really what track is his Achilles heel. But the way that played out really didn't matter. I don't think because there was a suicide pact on top between He's a Shooter and Breezy Money. They both held pretty well, all things considered, as they go at it tooth and nail and they open like 10, 12 lengths on the field. Self-taught is not really a closer. It's kind of a turn mover, more than a sustained type. Self-taught, got first run on the other lates who didn't fire that big anyways. And he was just in a great spot there. You could have bet your house on him, man. Halfway down the backstretch, Self-taught. Did he get claimed, though? I don't have any sound here. I wish they would put those on the monitor, on the Mountaineer feed. So Self-taught wins it 7-5, which some I'm sure considered a fair price on Self-taught. And that is the second winner that shortens up out of that 1.5 mile range, which was funky, man, because nobody in there had ever even tried to do it. But I'm almost going to have to upgrade that winner now after he romped and lapped that field. The horse that destroyed that 1.5 mile race, huh? Sixth race, these are West Virginia breds, never twos. An allowance, we're going 6 furlongs. With a field of 6. And the prohibitive favorite here is going to be Candy for Cynthia. I don't care what the board says now. Candy for Cynthia is going to get pounded. I mean, pounded at the windows. Got an improving pattern in the speed fig department and performance-wise as well, I think, because Candy for Cynthia last time, and this is a subtlety that will not be lost upon the wise guys in the C8W, that was not a never two. It was one of those optionals to where the two-time winners had to go for the price, but the one-time winners got to run not to be claimed. So basically, it was a never 3. And so Candy for Cynthia drops down in conditions here against never 2s and pulls into a woeful spot, man. Just nothing to beat here for Candy for Cynthia. And that buyer fig just jumps off the page. Nobody in here can touch or assault that. Final time never, Candy for Cynthia. This is a barn that wins a lot of these bad West Virginia bred races. John Schuler. Candy for Cynthia, if there's an Achilles heel here, and I'd be hard-pressed to present the race to you through that prism, then it's a lack of early foot when it comes to Candy for Cynthia. So the book says you're supposed to look for somebody who's going to get the lead when your sure-priced favorite wants to run from behind, especially in a sprint race. And if you want to struggle to find somebody who might go out there for an upset wire job, what about these 7-horse Blown Away? Although, please keep in mind, Candy for Cynthia, by far the most probable winner in this race. But Blown Away on the outside there. Another one was Turf for Blown Away and has never gotten back on the stuff since Blown Away. And obviously prefers the Greensword. Oh, yeah, baby, yeah. But was that some sneaky improvement last time from Blown Away? Outside the program, those were not West Virginia breds. The fractions were pretty quick, and Blown Away was well in contention the first couple of calls. I think Blown Away will probably stroll to the lead in here. Will that make things interesting, since the one win was when Blown Away did get the lead there? Back on September the 2nd. I don't know if I want to strain much to make a case for Blown Away here. Doom Loop. This is Mike Baird's dad, John Baird, who pays the bills on Doom Loop. Eddie Clouston down as the trainer, at least officially on paper. Doom Loop cut back in distance, doesn't want to route, wants to come from behind going short, but I'm not sure how skilled Doom Loop is at that, because speed was bad on July the 29th, which benefited Doom Loop. And the third finisher there, I think, is becoming something of a quitter. The horse that set the pace in there. And the second place finisher was a first-time starter. It was way back at the break, so it really didn't get the fire. So I'm not sure how impressed I am with the Doom Loop win. Should get a trip I will give him that. Just out of the blue, you know what? I'm an equal opportunity analyst. I want to touch on every horse that I can. And that was one of the innovations that McMichael and I instituted when we started the Mountaineers show out. It's kind of a pilot program, back in the year of our Lord 2000. And we decided we were going to touch on each horse if we could. McMichael wanted to do it to begin with, out of respect for a fellow horseman, which I get. And I wanted to take a little bit deeper dive. And when I look at a race and it's like a bunch of pretty colors and it's like a kid at the snow cone machine, can't decide whether he wants the yellow or the blueberry or the cherry or the orange. And you just want to sink your teeth into every single one of them or use them to slake your thirst. So I like to touch on every horse. I really do. And you know what? I've often believed that if you can't find the beating heart of any thoroughbred form, even a bad one, then you're in the wrong business as a TV analyst. You should be able to bring any set of thoroughbred past performances to life and find something either relevant, unusual, or interesting. And if you can't, then you were probably miscast in the role of a thoroughbred television analyst. Just my opinion. And it's just how I roll. Number 5, just out of the blue. And plus, you do the pre-race, your research in the afternoon, and you got stuff about the horses you're dying to say. You're going to spit it out, even about a horse that has no chance. Just out of the blue, number 5. This owner, Richard Burnsworth, is a great guy, great patron of the game. I think he deals in like a demolition of buildings and stuff, and I think he's made a lot of money doing it. And kind of splits his stock between Jaybird and Big Heavy Boy Anthony Ferrier. So it's a feather in Jaybird's cap when he can win with a horse that Big Heavy Boy could not come close to doing the same with, even in cheap maiden claimers at Charlestown. But I think that's where all the praise ends, because just out of the blue, and I remarked on this after the race, Strains by diminishing length and a half to beat the professional maiden Bobbsey Twins, the groom's jewel, and all roads lead to Dennis, but never to the winner's circle. I think that pair literally came in like a combined 0 for 89 or something. So the 5 horse ain't much. Let me just put it like that. Eyes on the Candy, number 2. I think this is a mare that might get a piece against the boys. Has the second best buyer fig in the bunch, huh? Something to be said for that, and ran second to a front-running favorite, a prohibitive favorite. I wasn't too impressed with the win because those were just mains and tails at the time behind Eyes on the Candy back in May. But I think the most recent race is better, and Eyes on the Candy was in against Mills last time. Kyle Gilbert seemed to get a better effort out of this horse than some other jocks have also. But clearly, from any standpoint, Candy for Cynthia is the featured part of the Schuler. I'm sorry, this is a former, I don't know why I think Eyes on the Candy is a Schuler horse. Eyes on the Candy is not a Schuler horse. Sometimes these West Virginia races are so incestuous with the horses moved around like shell games that I get confused about who trains who. I really do, and I have for years. Team Rama Jamma takes long, slow motion strides, just lopes of dopes and lopes of dopes, and is going to drop off the map early here. And that's not the kind of maiden win that off turf to begin with, and plus at 2 turns in a race that could have been clocked with a sundial. That's likely to see the winner come right back and score again. It's blown away, I think, on the lone lead theory. Is 5-2, so somebody's picking up on that, and they're going to upgrade this horse off that most recent race, which was his best dirt effort by far, and which projects him, as might some of his other races, to be out there on top here and kicking material back at the field, huh? I still think the 3 is a more likely winner, and I also think the price will reflect that. The late money's got to come to number 3, Candy for Cynthia. I had a question in the comments there, didn't I? How long do we have? I got a couple of questions. And time to answer also, guys. Somebody asked me, and apologies, it was Gavin. It was somebody named Gavin that asked me, I'm pretty sure, whether we've ever had a British horse come here and run in one of our stakes races. Not that I can recall. Mr. Gavin Newsom. Is it Gavin Newsom? Is that you? Governor of California out there? All joking aside, no, I can't recall that having happened. David Shavel, quite the wit. Coming up, the 6th race are mostly all graduates of various divisions of the Zippy Chippy Derby. Don't make me tell my Zippy Chippy story again, about how I wanted to match him. And I never get tired of telling it, guys. I'm sure people get tired of listening to it. I had this brainstorm to match Zippy Chippy up as a winless thoroughbred, gelding with the undefeated uh, mule, the mare, Black Ruby, cross gender man, unbeaten versus has never lost. I think it would have made national television. I think CBS would have picked up on it. I really do. I just couldn't sell it to Mountaineer though. I tried. Man, did I try. Zippy Chippy was being considered to join the Disney pantheon of lovable animal characters as the lovable loser horse who just keeps on trying, which was something of a misnomer, but I'm not going to tell the whole full story again. They didn't want to win any kind of a match race with Black Ruby. Had it transpire. Let me just give you the cliff notes and say that, guys. And yeah, Steve's right. Irish horses, I've seen them, but I haven't seen horses from Great Britain here. And when we see the Irish horses too, they have other stops when they come stateside. They don't come straight here across the pond. Usually they go to bigger tracks, more optimistic placements, and then kind of work their way down here. My man Kenny Neely going all political here about Gavin Newsom. I think you guys can probably guess my political orientation, but I don't do politics here. You guys can do it. Have at it, man. I ain't the hall monitor. So you guys can talk all the politics you want, but I think it's better if I abstain, because it's kind of like Michael Jordan said, Republicans buy, and in my case, Democrats buy tennis shoes too, So I would have to say Democrats, I watch horse racing analysis too, so I don't want to offend them. And I want everybody to be comfortable here in the dungeon, regardless of political orientation, gender orientation, you name it, we'll take you. Guys, I am stupefied at the price there, 3 to 5 on Blown Away. Wow. Blown Away did kind of jump off the page as a likely loose leader. And sometimes when a horse prefers turf, kickback is the issue, not the only issue, but Blown Away was never going to take kickback there. Is the speed from the outside post. So I'm not surprised Blown Away wins it. I made Blown Away the second likeliest winner there, but I didn't see 3 to 5 coming. I did not, I don't know about any nefarious plans to cash a bet there in the inside money, because I don't think Mike Baird even bets. I think it's more likely that some of the wise guys just seized on the lone speed thing and projected this horse to be about 3 or 4 on top, and they were right about it. I could see that part coming. And I guess there was some camouflaged improvement in Blown Away's most recent race. They're outside the West Virginia restricted program. So I turn the page. 2 front-running winners tonight, and both Morning Boss and Blown Away. And this could be informative, angled out in the late stages to stave off and repel horses that seem to have some momentum ducking down to the inside. So I'm thinking that's a better part of the track out there, guys. At least to some slight extent, not some all-powerful result dictating track bias, but something is in play, I believe. And now we come to a race they like to call a ratings, and that is impolite. A race, McMichael hated me for that, man. You know what? When I would go to the nostril, she would do this, literally. She'd go. It'd take me right out of her field of vision. I don't blame her, because I can be pretty uncouth. She got used to my shit, though. Over the years, believe me, she did. I used to play pranks on her, too, because she was kind of persnickety and kind of a neatnik. And so I'd sit there and eat peanuts, sometimes during the show, which you're never supposed to do when you bet on horse races, by the way. It's supposed to be a curse. My dad used to tell me, and he said some old-time handicappers told him, like back in the freaking 60s, don't ever eat a peanut at a racetrack. You will never win again. So I didn't care. So I'm sitting there behind the simulcast desk, and I'm chopping on peanuts between races. And I got this big honking pile of shells under the desk. The cleaning ladies have got to come in there. And they know it's our studio. They know who's messing it up, So right before we get ready to leave, I take my foot and I push this big, gargantuan, honking pile of peanut shells over under McMichael's feet. So the cleaning ladies think that she did it. I think she actually has struck me a couple of blows there, did McMichael, but then cleaned the peanuts up, because she cannot stand for the cleaning ladies to think that she sat there, her pristine, well-dressed, persnickety self, and made that kind of a mess on the carpet in her workplace. So, still cracks me up to think about it, guys. Ratings handicap coming up, 6 furlongs. This is an optional, either 50 parameters between 20 and 40, and the newfangled Equibase ratings numbers, which I have serious issues with. Serious issues. Or they got to go for the $4,000 tag. They all fit. They're all under 40 here. So Red Hurricane's under 40. Could have gone not to be claimed, but they chose to go for the $4,000 here. Binging maybe outclasses this field on paper. I think it is pretty apparent. Binging wins at Santa Anita on February the 28th there in a $10,000 race for a 74 buyer speed fig, and then ran a 75 here. Even better at a $10,000 claimer, won by a horse who's not too bad. Dance Code out of that Hot Vasquez barn, and Dance Code ran fast to beat Binging. Binging, I think, is in with cheaper horses here. Clearly cheaper horses, and outclasses these cheaper horses. That's not totally reflected, though, in these newfangled Equibase performance rating numbers. El Gutti, love this name, number 4. El Gutti. Now, stick with me here for a second. I'm going to get down in the weeds a little bit. We're having a good old time tonight, but I'm going to get serious here for a second, guys. Binging, 3 back, wins a 10,000, 3 lifer at Santa Anita with a 74 buyer, is in good form and has earned $142,000. And the Equibase number there, I think, is I think it is 34 or something like that, or 33. And then El Gutti, who likewise wins a 3 life claim, or a cheaper one at Sam Houston with a lower speed fig than Binging ran in victory, and whose recent numbers aren't as good as Binging's, and it was only made $67,000, a fraction of Binging's lifetime earnings, has a higher Equibase number. Only 1 single point, but a higher number? Are you kidding me? Like how? Please make it make sense, or go back to the drawing board and come up with another formula. You got this complicated algorithm. They're sharp guys and they're transparent. Various industry stakeholders come up with these numbers, which supposedly get updated every Tuesday, which can also bring some other issues into play, I believe, given my experience in the racing office with entry schedules. But I look for worst case scenarios. But I don't trust these numbers, and I'm not going to make a bet based on the numbers. That's obvious. I think binging outclasses this bunch and gets in or not to be claimed under this funky ass condition that is based on abstract Equibase numbers instead of claiming prices or starter eligibility or anything like that, you know? And we are 4 minutes to post here. Binging is 6 to 5. And I think I listed on a crawl there that binging on my notes there across the bottom of my crawl. I think I listed that that 4-to-1 morning line price point badly misses the mark. Will close much lower. This is not a good morning line at all. I think they missed it a little bit with Blown Away. I would like to think I would have picked up on his impending lone F trip there, and the fact that he'd run outside the program last time, binging, and Blown Away, and made him certainly lower than 15-to-1 on the line. But it is what it is. Binging is going to be much lower than 4-to-1 here. The horse who was rated higher than him on the Equibase scale, I think, is the horse with the best chance to beat him, El Guti. El Guti comes from Lone Star. El Guti's been in good form. El Guti's a route horse, though. And it looks like you got kind of a soft lead the last time he tasted victory there with Sam Houston. Front-running route horses float some people's boats when they cut back in distance. Not me so much all the time, because a lot of times front-running route horses can't get the lead when they sprint and don't really have any taste for the chase or any kind of a passing gear. This horse has sprinted in a forward manner before, though, in a sharp manner, and has stayed close to the pace in the process. But I'm going to cut to the chase, and I think the main reason to entertain El Guti as a prospective winner here is if you look this guy up, Angel Rodriguez, he came in here like a hurricane up from Florida, I think in 2024, and had this incredible record. I can remember this guy. His horses were running right off the screen. They were winning and certainly outrunning their past performances. And I think that alone might enhance El Guti. And I'm going to watch closely to see how the Guti one performs, because it will be more seriously in play the potential boost this horse might get from the Angel Rodriguez training factor in the last race, in which I think he's got a huge chance to win with number 4 Moon Factor. I know what you're thinking. Just to give a preview there, the 8th race, Alfie Solomons ran in a higher condition last time. Picks this one up, the lower condition, and just squeaks by on the eligibility date. So that signals good trainer intent and hidden class drop. The drop within a claiming price thing. Alfie Solomons has been fighting a war on the head end in races that were replete with opposing speed, and gets speed relief big time in the night's 8th race. So he makes logical sense on so many fronts, except for one thing. I don't trust the horse. He just gives me the queasies. I don't trust him. And 5/8 is his better distance, Alfie Solomons. So I'm watching intently to see what the Guti one does here, as might pertain to the performance of Moon Factor, but the other Rodriguez horse in the second half of the late doubler. Improbable First on the outside there. Improbable First was picked up in Ohio as Silva claiming horses over there. He goes over there in daylights, I should say, instead of moonlights in the afternoon, and runs some horses that he picks up. And he's also claiming while he's at it, while he's running horses that he gets from Asmussen and points out west. He's also been dropping some claims. Mike Roan's a tough guy to halter from. Pretty sharp horseman, in my opinion. And Improbable First has had a long campaign, 23 starts, a long wraparound campaign. Improbable First, though, has got plenty of speed. And with Winging Ways scratched on his outside, his task becomes a little easier. He trips cleanly for sure. And did show signs of coming around last time. And the reason we haven't seen him before this at Mountaineer is because you got to stay in jurisdictional jail for 60 days in Ohio. When you claim in Ohio, you run elsewhere in Ohio for a period of 60 days, or you don't run anywhere. Improbable First, if you can dispatch with Red Hurricane, who might be overmatched here, Red Hurricane, then I think he's a big-time player. But Red Hurricane, I think his speeds could be enhanced on the move out to 6 panels. And he was in with a prohibitive chalk last time at a really sharp horse. Although when you run non-winners in 12 months for 4,000, are you supposed to come back and win some kind of a ratings handicap, some kind of a funky-ass ratings handicap? Are you supposed to be outclassed a little bit in current terms? Game Boy Benny, I don't know. Game Boy Benny's just there. 10 years old now, so I don't give a hoot that he's won 17 races. Game Boy Benny. His main claim to fame is, I think he won at Thistledown on the same day that Jaybird won a race at Prescott and a race here for an historic triple, a tri-state triple, a couple of years back. I think it's so obvious that binging should not even be in here on the Equibase numbers. I think they are misconceived here to have him even eligible to run against these other horses. Just a bad idea. And that's going to be picked up on. And it's going to be reflected at his price too. He's 3 to 5 right now, binging. First race key is to see whether Improbable First can give Red Hurricane the slip or put that one away around the far turn. And I also want to see how all Gutty runs as pertains to the other Rodriguez horse, who I think has a huge chance in the nightcap here, guys. Guys, that's got to be the better footing out there for Game Boy Benny to all of a sudden become the closer of our generation. He's usually a position horse, and he's out in about the 8 path there, and he just stomps by him. Like Zenyatta does a Game Boy Benny who got trounced. Same parameters, ratings, handicap race, 2 back, then runs back off turf, 4,000, and misses a trifecta ticket. If you saw that form reversal coming, I salute you, kind of like in Gladiator, where they're going to look at the Emperor and say, we who are about to die salute you. Very few Gladiator matches actually were fought to the death, though, right? I think that's just Hollywood stuff. Is it not? So Game Boy Benny wins it. The binging, obviously not right. Lost his action there in the late stages. So I did binging, who ended up 3-5 or 1-2 or something like that. I didn't bet the race. I didn't like the race. I didn't bet it. So my man Chris, who I think is in the chat here, texted me a question and asked me. First he mentioned, I'm going to put your business right on the air here, Chris. First he mentioned he was 6 for 6. And then his wife comes home. And all of a sudden his record is marred. He loses a bet. Chris, she is what is commonly referred to as a jinx, my man. Unload her. File papers, or your doom as a horse player is certain. Remember my mother calling my then 12-year-old little fat boy brother at James of the races. One time she went off on him, man. He cried in like 9 or 10. I don't know. I think it scarred him emotionally, where she let loose on him. She was a serious gambler, man, and did not suffer fools in the race, so myself included, guys. Another more serious question I got via text here. Does Mountaineer make money, extra money, when they make a horse 15 to 1 on the morning line and the horse goes off at 3-5? Hell no. Mountaineer doesn't care who wins. Their take is the skim. Long shots winning or chalks winning, they're oblivious to that because they make the skim. The handle, out of the handle, X percentage comes out based on what kind of wager it is. And as far as the Mountaineer morning line goes, there are people as blind as Helen Keller in foreign countries that can't even decipher a racing form that realize that Mountaineer morning line is all-time atrocious. It is completely amateurish. Nobody puts one bit of stock in the Mountaineer morning line. In fact, sometimes I think I'm wasting my time when I cherry pick just atrociously conceived price points on the morning line. Nobody gives a hoot what a price is on the odds board. Just nobody. Got some action in the chat. I see where somebody's been called a Karen, and somebody requested no politics, and somebody has taken vehement exception to me. So we got vehement stuff going on. It's all happening in the dungeon tonight, guys. It's all happening. Have at it, boys. What did Grady Season say when Tom Cruise pulled out all the stops and stopped tanking and began to kick his ass? And the color money, take it on off. I can't help it. I'm going to go full Grady Seasons on you guys. Take it on off. I can't help it, kids. Steve Majewski, my show wins at 12-1. My man, please grow a pair and bet to win on a 12-1 shot that floats your boat. Especially if there's a freaking sub-even money favorite in the race, like a 1-2 shot that's probably going to finish 1, 2, 3 and kill your return and the show pool. 5.5 for the 8th race. Was the jock on the 4-horse? I don't know. He was not busting his little fanny much on number 4 El Gutty in that race. I'm going to say that much. Guys. 8th race, 5.5 to conclude the card. Fear not, though, guys. Mountaineer's going to come back with a couple of more programs this week, tomorrow, and then Wednesday. Forget about turf, though. No, not happening. We watched Misery last night, Shane and I, and it's kind of like Annie Wilkes said to the James Caan character that she had imprisoned in her farmhouse, and you can forget about anybody coming to check on you. I never made those calls to New York. We can forget about turf tomorrow. Guys, hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I would say probably Wednesday as well, but we'll see. Nominators in 12 months, very restrictive condition, 3,200. Newly conceived bottom claiming price at Mountaineer, 5.5 furlongs. Seems like most of these want the lead. One of the few that might be able to sit back a little bit and still pass somebody, and did so to win going 5.5 on synthetics a few months back. Number 4 Moon Factor. I'm still going to put some stock in the Angel Rodriguez factor because, man, he was on fire here a couple of years ago when he brought horses. I think then up from Florida. Moon Factor, I perked up last time to run a decent race. Now, I know on paper, and I went all over this. Number 7, Alfie Solomons ran in a higher spot last time, ran in a race that was loaded with live speeds and set it up for a now closer named 92 who came back to post the 3rd win in a row, or the 2nd of 3 straight wins or something like that. And Alfie Solomons went to war the time before in a very fast race that I'm skeptical of the winning Barfig there, by the way. But again, you get the idea. He was compromised in some kind of a bitter fight for the lead. And that's not what he wants to do. Alfie Solomons, it seems like he's always suckered into some bare knuckles brawl for the lead. He never separates. But in here, how can he not separate? It seems likely he drops the condition and ran really well last time. But as I mentioned before, the 7th race transpired. I don't trust Alfie Solomons. I just don't trust the horse. So lots of logic in his corner, but no trust factor from Waugh. So I think it pretty well clarifies my opinion on the last race. Hey, I'm in line at the grocery store. I did some late night shopping 2 nights ago. My man Little Bear was deep into his religious bag and studying his variety of religions. He's an expert on that stuff and did not want my company for a couple of hours. My wife's at work, so decided to drive to Market District in the greater Pittsburgh area, about a 45-minute drive. My bride wanted me to get some chicken tenderloins that she's cooking upstairs, and the smell's wafting down even as we speak, with some shake and bake, and maybe make some parsley potatoes with our own potatoes out of our garden. So I feel like all over Wendell Douglas now, like man of the land, you know. But anyway, so I'm in line up there, and there's like 3 people in front of me, even at this ungodly hour, late night shopping, and every single shopper in front of me. The new thing, I guess, is, oh no, they don't pull out a card. Oh no, they don't write a check, and certainly they don't hand out cash. No, the new thing is they pull out their phone and begin tapping on their phone for like freaking 25 minutes apiece, trying and having some difficulty locating whatever they have on the phone that's going to get them a discount or straight up pay for their food. So they're paying by phone. So what do the kids call it? FOMO, fear of missing out, the acronym. I felt some FOMO. I felt rage. I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? Girls paying for your food with phones, and you can't even locate whatever you need to find there to pay for your grub or to get some kind of a discount. But then I'm thinking, maybe I'm the idiot. Maybe I should be getting the discount with my iPhone. But what is up with these people that pull out their phone and start tapping on it when it's time to pay for your groceries at a crowded checkout line that's like 8 deep? That's my rant for the night, guys. So enjoyed it very much. Thanks for showing up in the dungeon. You guys are always welcome here. I will be back at you at 15 minutes to post tomorrow. The track is probably going to dry full cycle because there's only like about a 10% chance of rain tomorrow. So I would handicap for no turf, but handicap for a fast mountain main. Mark Patterson out.